Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a question that's honestly pretty mind-blowing. How do our daily pursuits, chasing pleasure and finding purpose, how do they literally alter our biology? We're talking about our immune system and ultimately our actual lifespan. We usually think of happiness as just this fleeting feeling, right? But today, we're going to look at the hard evidence showing it's actually an architectural framework for our physical bodies. So this brings us to the core concept we're unpacking today, and it's based on some brilliant epidemiological research by Professor Wagner Marcinus from the University of London. His work proves something incredible. Living a good life isn't just some philosophical idea. It's a measurable determinant of your physical health and biological resilience. And guys, this is a massive paradigm shift. Emotion isn't just a byproduct of being healthy. It's not like, oh, I feel good because I'm healthy. It actively dictates how healthy you're going to become, right down to the cellular level.
All right, here's our quick blueprint for today. We're covering 1. The ancient roots of happiness, 2. Pleasure versus purpose, 3. The biology of emotion, 4. Extending your lifespan, and finally, 5. The blueprint for resilience. Let's get right into it. Number 1. The ancient roots of happiness, touching on Ayurveda and early philosophy. Let's travel way back. I'm talking around 1500 BCE. Long before we had modern microscopes or, genetic sequencing, ancient Ayurvedic philosophy had already established this really holistic mind-body-spirit paradigm. These ancient thinkers actually understood something perfectly that modern medicine is literally just now scientifically validating. They define well-being in two distinct halves. First, you've got Sukham Ayu, which is the happy sensory life, and second, Hitam Ayu, the purposeful, salutary life. They knew that emotional imbalance was a primary upstream driver of physical disease, so they literally separated human flourishing into the sensory stuff we enjoy in the moment and the salutary, meaningful purposes we serve over an entire lifetime. Okay, moving to part 2, pleasure versus purpose, and really defining these two distinct paths. So let's see how this ancient wisdom translates into modern public health models. And honestly, public health research perfectly mirrors those ancient ideas by breaking our psychological pathways into two main categories, hedonic and eudaimonic emotions. Now, to break this down simply for beginners, the word hedonic comes from the ancient Greek word for pleasure. It's all about immediate joy, stress reduction, and physical comfort. Eudaimonic, on the other hand, comes from Aristotle's concept of human flourishing. This one is about fulfilling your potential, contributing to society, the deep stuff. Think of it with a simple analogy. Hedonic happiness is kind of like a quick sugar rush, right? It tastes amazing right now, but fades super fast. Eudaimonic happiness, that's more like a slow-burning complex carbohydrate. It takes a little more effort to digest, but it sustains your energy and health for the long haul. To really ground this in our everyday lives, let's look at a quick example. Hedonic happiness is that immediate relief and satisfaction we get from something simple and highly sensory. Think about the feeling of wrapping your hands around a warm cup of coffee on a slow, quiet weekend morning. You're breathing in that aroma, feeling the warmth. It's absolutely wonderful. And honestly, it gives us critical, immediate relief from the acute stresses of daily life. By contrast, though, eudaimonic emotion isn't always traditionally happy in the immediate moment. Take raising a child, for example. Ask literally any parent, and they'll tell you it can be profoundly exhausting, sleep-depriving, and just incredibly frustrating day to day. But it yields these incredibly deep feelings of worth, belonging, and connection. Why? Because it involves pursuing a purpose far larger than yourself. It's all about long-term meaning and contribution, not just a short-term burst of joy. And that brings us to this incredible twist. We intuitively know these two types of happiness feel completely different. But how do these philosophical concepts literally physically alter our biological responses? Like, how does the difference between sipping that relaxing coffee and enduring the struggles of parenting actually show up under a microscope? Well, that brings us to part 3, the biology of emotion, looking specifically at the CTRA genetic profile. To answer that question, modern genomics looked deep inside our white blood cells. Researchers tracked this specific pattern of gene expression called the conserved transcriptional response to adversity, or CTRA. Basically, this is the genetic alarm bell that triggers chronic inflammation whenever our bodies feel threatened, lonely, or stressed. And the data here reveals a massive, massive plot twist in human biology. Individuals with high levels of eudaimonic well-being, that deep sense of purpose, showed a huge downregulation of pro-inflammatory genes. In layman's terms, their bodies literally turn down the dial on systemic inflammation, which we know is the root cause of so many chronic diseases. At the very same time, they showed a surge in the genes that synthesize antibodies and fight off viruses. So high purpose actively boosts your immunity. But, and here's the catch, individuals who scored high in hedonic well-being, just chasing pleasure, but had low eudaimonic meaning, they showed the exact opposite genetic profile. They had dangerously high inflammation and deep biological vulnerability. The absolutely crucial point here is captured perfectly in this finding. As the research notes, their bodies interpreted pure pleasure-seeking without purpose as a form of biological vulnerability. I mean, just think about how fascinating that is. If you just chase sensory pleasure on the hedonic treadmill, always looking for that next warm coffee, the next vacation, the next easy win, but you aren't cultivating meaning, you actually lack long-term physiological protections. Your cells literally react as if you're under physical threat. Crazy, right? Let's keep going. Number 4, extending your lifespan featuring the Midas cohort data. Let's look at the longitudinal population data from the Midas National Study to see exactly how this cellular response scales up over time. This was a massive, large-scale look at adults in the US, trying to see how all this impacts our longevity and disease risk over an entire lifetime. And it brilliantly illustrates the real-world stakes here. Having high eudaimonic purpose actively buffers against major life-threatening conditions. We're talking lower cardiovascular disease risk, lower risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. It significantly reduces biological risk factors like interleukin-6, which is a major inflammatory marker. And ultimately, it predicts a significantly longer lifespan. Your emotions, your core sense of purpose, are actively extending or shortening your life. And finally, part 5. The blueprint for resilience and how we achieve a harmonious balance. So what's the takeaway? Does this epidemiological evidence mean we should just completely abandon our relaxing morning coffee, cancel Netflix, and only do hard, exhausting, meaningful work? Like, should we reject all sensory pleasure just to protect our immune systems? No, absolutely not. The science actually empirically validates those 1,000-year-old integrative models we talked about, proving we absolutely need both. Epidemiology reveals that true human flourishing requires an integrated blueprint. Hedonic happiness is vital for immediate stress recovery, but it has to be paired with eudaimonic purpose for long-term health. A really great daily habit is to intentionally pair the two. Go ahead and enjoy that sensory hedonic cup of coffee, but maybe use that quiet, recovering time to plan how you're going to contribute to your community, learn a new skill, or help your family that day. Which leaves us with one final thought to consider as you wrap up this explainer. When you look at the architecture of your own daily life, are you balancing the short-term joy that helps you recover with the long-term meaning that physically protects your future? Or are you just chasing your next warm cup of coffee?